Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a good Monday. It is not a very nice day outside. Perfect time to do another video. In this episode of Music Den, I'm going to give you my top three Alice Cooper albums. Alice Cooper the band, Alice Cooper the solo artist. Now, Alice Cooper the band, uh, which included Alice Cooper on lead vocals, otherwise known as Vincent Fournier. Glenn Buxton on guitar, Michael Bruce on rhythm guitar and backing vocals and keyboards, Dennis Dunaway on bass and backing vocals, and Neil Smith on drums, percussion, and backing vocals. They signed very quickly after forming to Straight Records, formed by Frank Zappa and Herb Cohen. They released two albums, Pretty's for You and Easy Action in 1969 and 1970 for Straight Records. Frank Zappa would end up selling Straight Records to Warner Brothers Records. Warner Brothers did not want to keep Alice Cooper, the band, on the label. They didn't think that there was any musical validity in the band. But for, Alice Cooper was kept on the label. They soon hooked up with Bob Ezrin, who had heard a demo, which he thought was called I'm Edgy. Turned out to be, it was called I'm 18. They would go on to record and release Love It to Death in 1971, produced by Jack Richardson and Bob Ezrin. Jack Richardson would then hand over sole producing duties over to Bob Ezrin to work with the band. Bob Ezrin would go on to produce Killer, Schools Out, and Billion Dollar Babies under the original Alice Cooper band name, Alice Cooper Band, sorry. During the pre-production for Muscle of Love, there was some friction happening within the band towards Bob Ezrin. It had nothing to do with Alice Cooper himself, Vincent Fournier. It had to do with the rest of the band. There was a situation where they were working on a song, and Bob Ezrin suggested a chord change to Michael Bruce. And Michael Bruce quickly said, no, this is how we rehearsed it, and this is how we're going to keep it. So Bob Ezrin, sensing the tension, did not want to put up with it and didn't want any of the hassle. So he quickly dropped the band, left the project. Muscle of Love, would go on to be produced by Jack Richardson and Jack Douglas. That album did not do as well as Billion Dollar Babies. The band, known as Alice Cooper, would break up. Vincent Fournier would officially take the name Alice Cooper and go on a solo career, very successful solo career, guided by Bob Ezrin in the 70s. The rest of the band would form a group called Billion Dollar Babies, releasing one album, which did not do very well. For the purpose of this episode, I will give you my top three Alice Cooper band albums. So coming in at number three is School's Out. Released June 30th of 1972. Perfect timing, end of summer or starting of summer, and school ends, end of June. Album comes out with the name School's Out. Perfect timing. This would be the only single release from the album. Alice Cooper as a band, they were always a hard rocking group, very heavy guitars, heavy rhythm guitars, heavy drums, good solid bass from Dennis Dunaway. Bloody hell. But they also never took themselves seriously as a band. They always had tongues very firmly planted in cheeks. Okay, very comic, like no, I don't want to say almost satirical, not comical, but satirical. The album featured the only single, "School's Out," and the album did create a bit of controversy due to the packaging. Because if you open the album cover, you would have a pair of paper panties in the inside the album cover. School's Out, as I was saying, is the only single release from the album. Other songs of note are Looney Tunes, Gutter Cat and the Jets. And what I liked about the song when I did research and I was listening to it, they give Stephen Sondheim writing credit, musical, a composer, and they use a section of When You're a Jet from West Side Story. Fantastic. That's what I mean when I said they never took themselves very seriously. Other songs of note on the album, Street Fight instrumental track, which is like 50 seconds, Blue Turk, fantastic. My Stars, which starts off side 2, Public Animal number 9. And what I find interesting about this track is, as Alice is singing, his vocals become more guttural, more growling, like he's turning into an animal, right? Other songs of note, Alma Mater, and which segues into Grand Finale, the instrumental that ends the album. Good album. Because it's number 3 doesn't mean it's not a good album. I've actually gained a real respect for the albums that the band put out during this time frame. Coming in at number 2 is Killer. Released in 1971, 8 tracks. I remember I was at a neighbor's house, Tina Penzini, and for some reason this album was in the house, like was in her den where they had like a stereo set up, and I remember looking at this album, and she could have gotten this album from my brother-in-law Muriel at the time. And I remember opening, the cover, first of all, scared the shit out of me because I don't like snakes. But I remember opening the cover and seeing, whether it was gatefold, I don't remember, but I do remember seeing a picture of Alice Cooper with a noose around his neck. And that really sort of shocked me. This album, the first side, fantastic. Under My Wheels, fantastic rocker, good heavy guitar. Be My Lover, another great song. Halo of Flies, 8 minutes plus, very epic, very grand. This was their attempt to say that they could do progressive rock just like King Crimson could. Last track on side 1, Desperado, which Alice Cooper said that he dedicated to Jim Morrison, a friend of his who died, Jim Morrison of the Doors, who passed away that same year. Side 2, You Drive Me Nervous. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good song. Dead Babies, which created a lot of controversy. And what they were trying to say with that song was they were talking about children and babies who are basically abused and abandoned by their parents or an abusive family member, which segues into Killer. Now, I remember seeing Killer being done on stage, and this was where Alice Cooper was either hanged on stage or they used the guillotine on him. And it made a hell of an impact on me. I'm sorry, I don't mean to swear, but that scared the shit out of me. I'm telling you right now. The first side of this album is amazing, and there is a remastered, reissued version of this album, along with School's Out and $1 Billion Babies. That's been reissued earlier this year. Fantastic. The first side is great of Killer. Second side for me, it's all right. I do like Dead Babies and Killer. That makes up that saves side 2 for me. So coming in at number 1 is Billion Dollar Babies. Released March of 73. To me, this is the Alice Cooper Band at their zenith. I did a review of albums that turned 50 in 2023 a few months back. Please check out that video. And this is one of those selections. To me, this is a bit of a concept album in that right from the very beginning, it's like from the lead-off track, Hello, Hooray. It's almost like you're walking into an auditorium to see a performance. And this is the lead-off track to welcome you to the show. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's very epic, very grand. Raped and Freezing. Album title, track title, not album title, track title notwithstanding, with lyrics like "I've got a live one here." A good song. Elected is another fantastic track. Picture, if you will, Alice Cooper, running for president. Not the Alice Cooper now that plays golf and is does all these charities and stuff, but the Alice Cooper that was, again, chopping off heads of babies on stage and playing with pythons and hanging himself. Picture him as an elected official. Couldn't do much worse, I wouldn't imagine, but I digress. Again, Billion Dollar Babies, fantastic title track with Donovan on co-lead vocals. What I like about this track is it's got dynamic to it. It's rocking. It's got, you've got the two, Donovan and Alice Cooper, trading off vocals, and they use a lot of panning where you've got Donovan singing and Alice Cooper doing a spoken word passage, and then they trade off where Alice Cooper is singing and then Donovan does the spoken word passage. So there's a lot of dynamics going on, right? Next track, Unfinished Suite, which ends off side 1. Fantastic track, experimental. You hear they go into a James Bond theme in the middle section. This is where they stretch out again musically. They stretch their musical muscles, as it were, where they do play, the James Bond theme for a good stretch, and a good bass work from Dennis Dunaway. Bloody amazing. Just unreal. Side 2 starts off with No More Mr. Nice Guy, which was another single from the album. The singles from the album were Hello, Hooray, Elected, Billion Dollar Babies, No More Mr. Nice Guy. So, I mean, amazing selections. Generation Landslide. Great track. Talks about the divisions of generations in terms of how they see things. How the younger generation doesn't see the same view, doesn't have the same views as the older generation, and how the two clash, and how maybe how they can come together, or even if they ever do. Next track is Sick Things. This is where the macabre of Alice Cooper comes into play, for into the foreground, where he's singing, I like sick things, but he's also, as he's doing the vocal, he's also doing a whispered spoken word a passage, word for word. What he's singing, he's also whispering in spoken word form. So it's very eerie, very gothic kind of thing. Then it goes into a very beautiful piano-driven track called Marianne. which to me makes you believe or think that, you know what, this isn't real. It's just a farce. It's a play. Okay. It isn't real. And then as Marianne fades out, comes the last track. I Love the Dead. This is Alice Cooper at his most, in my opinion, morbid, and his most diabolical. You can see where he wants to go with the music. He's talking about necrophilia. You know, I love the dead when they're warm. You know, when their bodies are warm. It's like, good Lord, man. You know, could you get any more macabre is the word. And it was to be said at this point, the band were also not comfortable with the showmanship that Alice Cooper was doing, the chopping heads of baby dolls and the guillotine and the whole bit. They were sort of getting tired of the theatrics. He would go on to release his one and only release for Atlantic Records, Welcome to My Nightmare in 75, January 75, produced by Bob Ezrin, and take the theme of macabre and unsettling themes to more extremes. But again, this was the last album released by the second to last album that was released by the original Alice Cooper group. For me, this is shock theater. It is gothic theater at its best, and it's rock theater at its best as well. So just to recap, coming in at number 3, Schools Out from 72, number 2, Killer from 71, and my number 1 album, $1 Billion Babies, released March of 73. So please, down there, down below, down there, please let me know what your top 3 Alice Cooper band albums are, or Alice Cooper solo albums are. There are no right or wrong answers. Everyone's got a favorite time frame of an artist that they listen to. For me, again, like I said, I've gained a new respect for Mr. Alice Cooper and the band and what they did as a band. They believed in basically blowing up the love and peace generation. There was an interview that Alice Cooper did that he says that when the band came out, everyone was getting a little bit tired of peace and love and, smoking whatever and just dropping out. He wanted to sort of blow the doors off that notion and do something completely different, and which he did. So again, down there in the comments below, please give me your top 3 Alice Cooper albums, either from the band or solo. Coming up on the channel, I will be doing a show, 3 other shows coming up this week. I'll be doing 2 shows with Bill Schuster back to back. We are going to be talking about in celebration of Halloween. We are going to be talking about the Rocky Horror Picture Show soundtrack versus the Little Shop of Horrors soundtrack, which is a better one. We're going to also be talking about Joe Jackson, Night and Day 2. We're going to be doing an album discussion on that because I really do believe it deserves to be discussed. And I will be doing a show with Peter Kent from the Lizard King channel. Please check out the Lizard King channel. Peter's got some great content. We're going to be ranking our top Who albums. 12 albums to listen to. I know 3 of them pretty well. So that means I only have 9 to listen to. So that's going to be a lot. So That's coming up. That's going to be taped on Saturday. The shows with Bill are going to be taped on Friday. So that's coming up. Also, another video is coming up with Ryan Gavalier on Stevie Nicks, Belladonna. We're going to be doing an album discussion on that album. So please stay tuned for all that. A lot more coming up. I will see you very soon. Please take care of yourselves and one another. And I will see you soon with another video. Bye for now.